Okay, good evening, everyone. I hope I'm audible to everybody and my screen is visible to everybody. Okay, so welcome to Ethics, Integrity, and Aptitude Orientation class. So, as you all know, in your mains, one paper is dedicated to ethics, integrity, and aptitude. Okay, so you will be writing one paper worth 250 marks in your mains, okay, as part of your general studies. So, this is an orientation class, and in today's class, I will be discussing the syllabus to this particular paper and what is the approach, how do you prepare for this paper, okay, and finally we will try to get familiarized with certain terms just to get warmed up to this particular subject. Certain terms that we will be frequently using in our classes, okay, we will be discussing it today. Okay, so that is what we will be doing in today's class. Okay, so how do we study ethics, integrity, aptitude? What is the demand of this particular paper? How do we study? Where do we study? And what is expected out of you? How the questions will be asked? All that we will try to get ourselves familiarized today in this particular session, and we will try to get familiarized with certain terms. Okay, as much as possible, and then from tomorrow onwards we will try to do it, start with the first chapter. Okay, so ethics, integrity, and aptitude. Before I start with this particular class or this particular orientation session, one thing you should understand that whether you are giving your UPSC or your KPSC, ethics, integrity, and aptitude is one of the very scoring paper. Okay, little bit less effort compared to others. It's not very vast as compared to other GS papers. So if you compare GS-1, 2, or 3, they are very vast. Whether it is UPSC or KPSC, whatever you're preparing for, the general studies 1, 2, and 3 is quite vast. Okay, and you need to put a lot of effort to familiarize with your several topics. So there is, whether it is paper 1 where you have history, society, and other things, whether it is paper 2 where you have polity, governance. If you're writing KPSC, you have additional public administration and all those things. So a lot of things has to be studied. Whereas ethics, integrity, aptitude, you have less content wise, you have less to study. But the challenging about ethics, integrity, and aptitude is that you need to, it's a new subject, right? No, we wouldn't have studied this either in our prelims preparation, or even if you take, for example, in your schools also, you wouldn't have studied the theoretical aspect of ethics, integrity, and aptitude. Okay, as moral science, we used to have one class. For me, I used to have one class, but over there, we never studied the conceptual aspect of it. We merely studied, read about stories and other things. So even in our school, we wouldn't have studied this. Though we are all ethical in nature, but giving it a definition, giving it a feature, writing answers based on that becomes very challenging. Okay, though the content wise it is very small, or there are few topics that you need to actually study, but writing would be a challenging part. What exactly you need to write, what are the terms that you need to use, etc., becomes a little bit tricky. Whereas your general studies 1, 2, and 3, the content wise becomes difficult, but once you are comfortable with the content, writing doesn't become that much of a challenge. If you have developed the skill over a period of time, it becomes, it's almost common for all GS-1, 2, and 3. Writing becomes very, is almost common for all of it. So therefore, ethics approach in our classes also will be to get ourselves familiar with the content and how do we present this content in terms of writing good answer. What are the terms that we need to use, what are the right terms, the theorist what we have to use while writing these answers. That is what is important, what I believe in ethics, integrity, and aptitude. Okay, so that is what we will also do over a period of time in the course of this in this course. Okay, and familiarize ourselves with the content and try to know how to write this. So that is what is necessary for this particular paper as well. So in today's session, let's try to get ourselves familiar with the syllabus and more importantly, the terms. At the end of today's session, all of you should be at least comfortable with what we will be discussing in the future classes, because all these terms are new. Though we know what is to be ethical, we know what is morality, we know what is values, etc. We would have heard and we would have inculcated, and practically we will be applying it in our life. But to define it, okay, to compare it with another term, so morality, ethical, both seem to be, same thing, dealing with the same thing. But over here, we need to understand their similarity as well as differentiate it, so that we will be able to write good answer. Ultimately, what we need to do is score good marks. So with this much effort, if you put this, if you apply this strategy, develop a content and the writing skill, it is very scoring. Okay, it is very scoring because the content is very less. Once you are familiar with those basic content and you get that writing skill, any type of question is asked, okay, you will be able to write anything, something or the other, and you are going to get good marks. Okay, so compared to other subject where 90 to say 110 is a good score. Okay, here you can get anything between 120 to 130. I'm being conservative. I mean, on a general basis, this is what score you can get from ethics and integrity. The other paper is similarly your essay. If you're writing UPSC, then even your optional. So these are the three things that you need to focus. One is on essay, optional, and your ethics paper. The kind of effort that you put for these three papers actually reflects in your marks. Okay, whereas GS is quite vast. Certain times what happens is there could be more topics that is asked from those topics which you would not have studied, so you will end up getting less. Okay, so here in ethics integrity, if you understand the basic underlying principles, concepts, etc., any type of question is asked, you will be able to write something at least where you can get at least little bit average marks in those questions. Okay, so that is why it is very scoring, right? So over here, first I will discuss the syllabus, etc. Okay, so all of you can keep, so how we'll approach this is, you can keep your devices in landscape mode, so that whatever I write down in the class, etc., you can dot it down. I would expect you to keep one notes. Okay, keep one notes for the ethics itself. Most of the definitions, etc. See, I have selected these definitions from several books, 3-4 books. After reading these books, I have selected the most easiest, more accurate definitions, etc. So you can write down those definitions. Okay, so one 200 pages ka unruled book you can all keep, and whatever we discuss in the class, whatever I dictate in the class, you can write down in that. So the complete complete ethics, integrity, aptitude, you'll have one single personalized notes of your own, which will be very useful for revision and in your final examination. Because in several places you'll have to write definitions, okay, of certain terms, concept. For starting an answer, you need to write definition. So if you have all these in one place, right, it makes your job very easy. In addition, okay, so this is what I expected to do. So we will try to discuss various concept terms, etc. You write down those things. Wherever it is required, I will dictate, okay, so that you can have it. So at the end of the session, you should have one comprehensive note. Okay, you will have one comprehensive note. So this program will be handled by myself, okay, and Rajesh Ponnappa sir. Okay, so we will give you a detailed timetable as to what I will be handling and what Rajesh Ponnappa sir will be handling. Okay, so that will be from tomorrow onwards. So whatever, we will try to cover it as quickly as possible, so that those who are giving your mains this year, you should not delay your other preparation, right? So we will try to, from next week, we will try to take 2 classes every day on ethics integrity, so that around 4 hours, and you will be able to complete your syllabus as quickly as possible. Is that okay? So this is about what we will be doing. Now, if you see the syllabus, see in UPSC as well as your KPSC, okay, the syllabus is more or less the same itself. Okay, so instead of going through the syllabus in detail, okay, which you can do after the class, so I will be discussing some of the important chapters that we will be covering, okay, in our classes. Okay, so the first chapter is on ethics. Okay, all these terms may be new to many of you, so I will not go into details right now. Okay, because if I do it, most of you will not be able to appreciate it. So therefore, I'll just read out these syllabus. You can just make a note of it on your own. And later, as we go on, after few classes, you will get familiar with whatever we are discussing. I won't discuss the terms as of now. So we have these chapters, the following chapters. Okay, so 11 chapters are there in your syllabus. We can divide it into 11 chapters. Okay, so you have ethics. Okay, the essence of ethics, determinants of ethics, consequences, and the various dimensions of ethics. Don't worry about these terms, guys. So tomorrow when we start with ethics, essence, determinant, etc., you will be able to be more comfortable. Today, you don't worry about this part. Okay. Then we have human values, how to inculcate human values. Where do we learn these human values? Okay. And the source, like our parents, our teachers in schools, or moral thinkers, religion, all these are source of values. So we will understand what are values, what are the features of values, and what are the sources of values. Then integrity. Okay, the chapter on integrity. So doing the right thing all the time. Okay, then aptitude. Okay, the ability to absorb new values. Attitude, our predisposition towards any object, whether we like it or dislike. So food, we have a particular attitude towards a food. Say, like for example, if you don't like a food, okay, the attitude towards that will be negative. You like something, okay, pizza, burger, okay, you like it, so your attitude towards those will be positive. Okay, then emotional intelligence. So GS-1, 2, and 3 tests your knowledge or intelligence with respect to your various discipline, whether it is economy, polity, etc. In ethics, okay, we also have what is known as emotional intelligence. What is emotional intelligence? The ability to understand our own emotion and change it according to the need, at the same time understanding the emotions of others and changing it. Okay, so that is emotional intelligence. Don't worry, I mean, I'm just trying to complete this, that's all. Otherwise, you don't have to worry about these terms at this point of time. Next, these are all basic concepts. Then this ethics, because tomorrow you're going to be public administrators, you're going to be civil servants. So therefore, applying this ethics in public administration, that is ethics in governance. What are the various problems associated with ethics in governance? Why do we need ethics in governance? What are the essential characters of ethical governance, etc.? We need to study over here. Again, practically, okay, because this is a practical aspect of it, so we need to study them in much more detail. Okay, then we have ethical dilemmas. See, everybody faces dilemmas. Okay, whether it is financial dilemmas, personal dilemmas, etc. Over here, we will be studying ethical dilemmas, meaning if there are two conflicting ethical values, okay, how do we solve it? Okay, there can be two right things, and you have to choose any one. Out of two, you have to choose any one. Both are equally important, both are ethical, but which one should you choose? So ethical dilemma. See, for example, building a dam. If you build a dam, you are able to provide irrigation to the farmers. But okay, at the same time, you will be displacing tribals. You will be displacing tribal. Now, what is the choice that you are going to make? Okay, if you have to address the needs of one section of the society, then you will be causing harm to the others. So that is ethical dilemmas. And how do we solve it? So we have laws to solve it, rules to solve it, regulations. And if nothing works, then we have our internal voice that tells us what is right and what is wrong. That is conscience as a source of ethical guidance. Okay, so this chapter we will be studying the various ethical dilemmas that we face in life or as public administrators or any part of our life. Okay, and how do we solve it, and what is there in administration that helps us to solve these ethical dilemmas. So having and understanding these things will help us to take better decisions. Tomorrow, as administrators, you may face several problems, several issues, ethical dilemmas. Having knowledge, basic idea as to how we need to address this through laws, rules, etc., you will be able to take more effective and efficient and correct decisions. So that is why ethical dilemma itself is a chapter, and how do we solve it. Okay, then the basic essence of public service. Okay, what is the essence of? Okay, so chapter 10, what we will be discussing is contribution of moral thinkers from India and world. Okay, so we will be discussing some of the important thinkers. We cannot go into entire thinkers because that's not the scope of our discussion. Okay, in philosophy, we will be discussing, I mean, you need to study all that. But over here, we will just look into some of the important moral thinkers or ethical, theories that has been given by them. Okay, from the ancient times, medieval, and modern times. Okay, whatever it is there. We will be discussing them at least one page or 1-2 pages on each thinkers. We will try to prepare for. Okay, in case if they ask specific, usually UPSC doesn't ask specific to thinkers. They will generally ask ideas of individual like thinkers, etc. Especially Gandhiji's, etc. They have always asked. So some, at least when they ask some direct question, we will be prepared for that. Or if not, you can use those things to write your other answers as well. And the last chapter is case studies from the above topics. Okay, whether it is ethics, integrity, aptitude, emotional intelligence, and all that, there can be a case study. So basically, what is a case study? So they will give you a context, they will give you a story. Okay, and usually this story or this context will be dealing with ethical dilemmas. Okay, so they will be dealing with ethical dilemmas, and based on that context, you have to put yourself in that position, and using various approach. Okay, what you would have studied in your theory, use this various approach to solve this ethical dilemma. So what are the various options that you have? Okay, and how will you solve those ethical dilemmas? That is what is asked in your case study. We will come to that one by one. See, I don't expect you to understand all these things right away. Just to give you an idea that these are the topics that we will be covering in your as part of your syllabus. Is that okay? Now, case studies with respect to KPSC. KPSC, so ethics paper has been introduced from two notification. Okay, so in the past two notification, though the syllabus mentions case studies, they have not asked even once. Okay, but anyway, since the syllabus mentions, we will try to cover these case studies and how to approach it, etc. Maybe you never know, they may ask this year, but UPSC has been consistent. 50% of your paper deals with case study. In UPSC, 50% of the paper on ethics, integrity, and aptitude deals with case study. So therefore, case studies has to be prepared. What are the different types of case study? How do we solve it? What is the right way to write approach this case study, etc. We will try to study. But for that, some amount of basic concept you need to appreciate. Okay, so therefore we will keep it for about 5-6 class later on. We will start discussing these case studies. Is that okay, guys? I mean, at least some idea you got that what are the things that we will be discussing. These terms, I hope, is clear. So after the class, I would expect you to go back and check the syllabus once again, read the entire syllabus to get a broad idea as to what you will be dealing with. Is that okay, guys? So this is the syllabus. Okay. Now, if you talk about the paper in UPSC, 250 marks. So usually 130 marks will be theory based or conceptual based, quotation based, etc. It's basically theory question. Okay. So 10 marker, 13 questions, so 130 marks. Okay, each question you'll have to write 150 words. So based on various concepts, you'll have to write 150 words. And then you have case studies. Okay, so case studies another 120 marks. Okay, so case studies usually maximum you'll have to write about 250 words. So that is around 2.5 page you will have to write. Okay, this is your UPSC, how the questions will be asked. So you have 10 markers. Okay, and you have case studies, okay, where you'll have to write 250 words. Is that okay? So this is how UPSC will be asking questions. KPSC, though the syllabus is the same, okay, in KPSC, 250 marks. So in 2014, each question carried 12.5, 12.5 mark, and that asked 20 questions. In 2015, they asked two types of question. They had asked two types of question, one carrying 20 marks and the other carrying 15 marks. Okay, so they had asked 5 questions of 20 marker and 10 questions on 15 markers. Is that okay? So obviously 20 marker means you'll have to write around 200, 250 words. I mean 200 words, let's say. And if you have 15 marks, you'll have to write around 150 words. So the two types of questions are asked in KPSC. Both, I mean, these are all mainly theoretical. So there was, they never asked case study. You never know. You may be the lucky batch that they might ask the case study. Okay. So we will anyways prepare for them since it is mentioned in the syllabus. Is it okay? I hope you got a picture as to what is the syllabus and how questions are asked. So what I expect you to, you guys to do is that, you know, entire syllabus, whatever terms that you are mentioned in the syllabus, for everything I expect you to have at least 2 pages, minimum 2 pages of note. I will do that in the class. We will do that in the class. At least 2 pages of content you should have. Okay, a beautiful definition or a perfect definition you should have. Okay, and you should know what exactly to write from the entire syllabus. And then they can ask, you know, in permutation, combination, etc. They will be asking, you know, the same thing in different ways, etc. They will be asking. Is that okay, guys? So what you need to prepare is 2 pages notes. In case if they ask as a 20 marker also, that should be sufficient. If they ask 10 marker also, it should be sufficient. So usually they won't ask more than that. So 10 to 20 markers you should be prepared. Okay. It will be the same for UPPSC. I think it will be same. I have not seen UPPSC paper, so please have a look at it after the class. If they have ethics paper, then obviously the syllabus, because all the state PSCs, they copy the UPSC ethics syllabus, so I think it will be the same. Okay, in Karnataka it is the same. For UPSC, okay. See, UPSC you have part B. Part A is theory questions, part case study. Okay, theory questions are all 10 markers, and the case studies are all 20 markers, or it is 250 words. Is that okay? I hope all of you are clear. So what is the demand? See, one is being familiar with the concepts and all. But again, at the end of the day, you have to score marks in your mains. For that, we have to prepare the content. The content is, you will be preparing about 200 words from the entire syllabus. So any kind of topic is asked, permutation and combination wise, you should be able to write them. Is that okay, guys? Right, I'll move on to the next one. Okay, now coming to the reference material sources, what all you need to study. See, one thing is, I can always say that class notes is comprehensive. Yes, what at the end of the day you will end of the sessions, you will realize that what notes we are giving is from different sources, and probably picked the best content from different sources, and we will be giving you that. Okay, but at the same time, as I told you, content is not difficult. Okay, what is difficult is how do you present this answer, the type of answering, etc. makes it a little bit challenging. So obviously there needs some other supplement other than the class notes. Class note ultimately is useful for your exam, repeatedly you revise it, etc. But little bit clarity, etc. can be got by reading extra. Okay, so some good ethical books, for example, I've just written here Mahatma Gandhi's My Experiment with Truth. Okay, reading books like this definitely will give you a context of what is ethics, and you can use several of those ideas in your answers. When they ask you questions like who is the write the features of Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy, etc., you may be able to write better answer. The values that is there. If they ask you how will you manage these situations, you can definitely quote these things. I mean, I just mentioned Mahatma Gandhi because in both KPSC, UPSC, you can always expect one question relating to Mahatma Gandhi. Okay, so because not just is the founding father of our nation, but also our modern ethical values, whether it is constitutional values or with respect to our governance or basic day-to-day life, etc. So we do inculcate these values. So therefore, one question to pakka from Mahatma Gandhi ji. So obviously you will have to prepare for it from different sources. Okay. Next, second Administrative Reform Commission, certain topics, summary of those topics you can refer. Okay. So there is an entire chapter in second ARC report which is called as Ethics and Governance. Okay, so that chapter you can read it. You will get a fair idea as to what their recommendation. So whenever there is a question on what would you do, if the question is asking how do you reform this, how do you give your suggestions, okay, give your suggestions. So that time you can always quote the second Administrative Reforms Commission and you can quote those things from that. Okay, you can just Google it up. You will get the second Administrative Report Commission, Reforms Commission, and in that there is a chapter called as Ethics and Governance. This chapter you can read completely. The summary part, see, these are all something which you have to do at the advanced level. First, complete the basic level. So basic level will be done in the class. Okay, plus one standard text. If you read, you will get the basics. Now, once you are familiar with these basics, then only I expect you to read all these reports. I'm not saying that we will not do these reports. We will. We only will select the important ones that is necessary for explaining certain concepts, etc. But if you read the entire book, probably you will, I mean, entire chapter, it will be, I think, around 40 to 50 pages. Okay. But this is only if you have time. If you are writing in another 2 months, obviously you won't have time. So you can skip it. Even this, you can skip it. Okay. But I do have to mention them. So I have mentioned it over here. Then selective topics from Indian Constitution, like the preamble. Okay. Like the DPSP. Over here, these two you should know by heart. Okay, you should be able to write these things in your answers. Very, very important. See, in prelims and all, I usually don't stress on by hearting these DPSP and preamble, etc. But over here, the terms and the concepts that are there, okay, DPSP, may all those things you need to mention here and there whenever related topics are asked in your examination. Okay, so selected topics from Indian Constitution, especially preamble and DPSP, you should know. Okay, the material that we give also, it would help you supplement whatever you are reading. In addition to this, I would recommend you to buy one standard textbook and read it once at least. Okay, just to give you a broad idea. Because as I told you, a little bit effort in this paper will get you a better marks, okay, compared to other GS paper. So any of them, I would not recommend any one single book. Okay, but all these what I have mentioned here are good, especially the first two. Okay, if you find them difficult, then lexicon for ethics, okay, integrity and aptitude. So that's also, it is a little bit simpler. Okay, I think what material that we are giving is almost similar to lexicon. The same author has given us this, so you can use that also. So okay, right, this is very basic, at least at the simpler level, terms, etc. More advanced, I mean, little bit advanced is this. These two books, they are good enough. You can read by Karthikeyan, okay, one, or by D.K. Balaji, then S. Chandana. Okay, all these are good books. You can refer anyone. Buy one. Okay, you can go to our library, check it for yourself for once, and then probably you can buy one. Buy one and read it page to page. It would be helpful. Trust me when I say this. So your class notes, okay, plus one text is ideal for your ethics, whatever we give in the notes. See, this notes is finally what you're going to revise, 20, 30 times before your examination. This gives you a little bit broader idea about this particular subject. Okay, so that is what is a reference source. Is that okay, guys? Any doubt with respect to reference source? You don't worry about the class notes, because we will cover the entire syllabus gradually. Entire this one we will be discussing, no doubt about that. Okay, I would suggest you one textbook just to keep it keep a broader idea. Okay, with no doubt I'll go to the next one, right? So over here you can just see the picture. Okay, so just you can book it online, okay, and you can start reading it from today itself. Now, before we go into understanding the terms, etc., let's try to understand what are the different types of questions that have been asked previously in the examination. So I'll not go into this discussion per se, but let me tell you what type of question will be asked so that you get a fair idea as to how you should prepare these topics. Okay, two types of question. Now, first one is concept-based question. See, when we discussed the syllabus, I told you values, ethics, integrity, emotional intelligence, etc. Right, we used all those words. Based on that, directly they can ask certain questions. Look at this. Distinguish between code of ethics, code of conduct with suitable example. Explain the determinant and consequence of ethics. What is emotional intelligence and do you agree, whatever like that. So based on the concepts. So whatever there is there in the syllabus, based on that concept, they can ask question. What is this? Why is it necessary? What are the features? What are the differences? Things like that. Okay. Next, they can ask questions based on the concept by applying it to real life or your opinion. Okay. They can ask your opinion. They give you a blank canvas and then they will ask you, what is your opinion or what do you think is important, etc. See, for example, state 3 basic values which are universal in nature in context of civil services and bring out their importance. So you can give whatever value. You can say integrity is a value. Okay, you can say efficiency is a value. You can say probity is a value. You can say commitment is a value. You can say honesty is a value. So you will say, according to me, 3 basic value which is considered to be universal is so and so. Why is it important? I hope you understood. Applying the concept based on to real life or based to your opinion. Similarly, what is public interest? Okay, and why do you think it is important? With regard to morality of action, one's view is this. Which view do you think is more appropriate? Justify your answer like that. So here, the same concept only, but they will apply it in real life or they will ask your opinion. That type of question can also be asked. Then, so that is one major part what they will ask, concept and applied part of the concept. The second major part of question is governance related. Now, obvious this is because tomorrow you are going to be part of this governance machinery and therefore you are expected to know what are the various ethical issues relating to governance. So explain the process of resolving ethical dilemmas in public administration. What is a process? RTI, Right to Information Act, is not all about citizen empowerment. It is also redefining concept like that. In public administration, tolerance, compassion to weaker section is very important. Why? What do you understand by probity and how do you solve it? Things like that. So applying them ethics into governance, into public administration type of question can be asked. This is also fairly common type of question. Next, in KPSC, they don't usually ask this type of question, but UPSC, about 3 questions is asked every year based on quotes. So they will give you a quote and they will ask your understanding about this quote. See, for example, anger and intolerance are enemies of correct understanding by Mahatma Gandhi. So like that, explain the quotes. That is what they will ask. Okay, like Abdul Kalam, where there is righteousness in the heart, there is beauty in character. Where there is beauty in character, there is harmony in home. Where there is harmony in home, there is order in nation. When there is order in nation, there is peace in the world. So what do you understand from this particular quote? So about 150 words. Okay, you have to explain your understanding on these particular quotes. I mean, this instead of rather than explaining to you, it is good that if you practice them, you will be able to get a better, fair idea as to what needs to be written. Okay, so this is another type of question asked in UPSC. KPSC have not asked, but nothing, there is no restriction as to they cannot ask these type of question. Next, situation-based question. Okay, something like case study, but not exactly in the case study section. So they can ask even in theory part itself. See, suppose the government of India thinks of constructing a dam. Okay, where there is ethnic communities, etc. What rational policy should it resort to dealing with unforeseen contingencies? So situation-based type of question. So this is also basically application of your ethics. Next, theorist-based question. So UPSC doesn't usually ask directly theorists-based question. But anyways, this KPSC, they had asked this type of question. Critically consider the essence, determinant, and consequence with reference to GS Mill Act of Utilitarianism. Then they had asked about Charvaka and Karma Yoga theories, Indian ethical principles of Charvaka and Karma Yoga, they had asked. Okay, so things like this can also be asked, theorist-based question. Is that okay, guys? So these are the theory-based questions. These are the theory-based questions. So you can be asked theory-based questions on basic concepts, application of these concepts in real life, in public administration, issues relating to public administration, court-based question, theorist-based questions, okay, or situation-based questions. So these are the types of questions you need to prepare for. Okay, next. So we also have in our syllabus what is mentioned as case study. Okay, so what do you mean by case study? I told you already. So basically they will give you a context, a situation. You have to read the situation, put yourself in that situation, and then make a decision, okay, or provide various options that is available to you. Okay, now let's say there is a flood that has taken place, and you are coordinating the rescue mission, and in this situation you only have one boat, okay, which can carry 5 people, but there are 7 people over there. Okay, and how you will decide whom should be taken, something like that can be there. Or they can give you a situation that your boss is doing these things, but you don't agree to it, it is unethical. What do? Will you complain against the boss, or will you take a transfer and go away, or will you collide with the boss and you also will make money? Things like that can be asked. Okay, so basically it is an ethical decision making process rather than a correct answer. There cannot be always a correct answer. See, you need to take a decision, and this decision has to be justified. How well you justify this decision is what is what is expected out of this particular case study. So what are the values that you use? What are the principles that you use? All this you'll understand what I'm trying to say. So you need to take decision. So it is basically testing your ethical decision making process. Ethical decision making process. So tomorrow when you occupy an office, you are expected to make decisions on a day-to-day basis. So how do you take these decisions? There cannot be one specific correct answer. Correct? No. So there will always be dilemmas. All of you agree to this? Yes or no? Can you always say that there is always one way of doing something? No, right? There can be so many different ways. How do you decide what is the right way? Yes, correct. No, there is no particular way. So basically here what we are trying to test, or what the examiner expects you to understand, the ethical decision making, okay, the process of ethical decision making rather than correct answer. Okay, there is no keyword saying that this itself should be written, nothing like that. So basically the examiner tries to understand your ethical decision making process. Okay, so it presents a story with a situation, puts them on the role of decision maker or an administrator or whoever as a real life situation, and tries to understand how well you are able to take these decisions. So the situation does not have any obvious solution. So therefore you're supposed to write the decision making process rather than just simply rather than simply say that this is the only way of doing it. Okay, we'll come to that. Anyways, when we discuss case study in detail, I will explain to you what you are supposed to do and how do you do a broad framework. Using that, you have to cultivate the process. We must provide probable, logical, and ethical answer or solution. Yes, exactly, Kiran. That is what you are expected to do. So you are expected to provide a logical and ethical solution which based on certain principles. Okay, now you can say, the best decision is that which benefit everybody. If you take that logic, okay, if you use some other principle, then it is considered to be wrong. Let me give you an example what I'm trying to say. You can say that out of 100 people, your decision will satisfy 80 people, correct? And you will say this, therefore this is right decision. All of you agree to this? Can you say that this is a right decision? If out of 100, if I'm able to satisfy 80 people, then it is a right decision. Do you agree to this concept, guys? So this concept is known as utilitarianism. Okay, this concept is known as utilitarianism. That means majority of the people are benefited from my decision. It is known as utilitarianism. And based on that principle, I'll say this is right. Yes, correct, no? So you all agree that this is right. Why? Because you believe in this concept of utilitarianism. So you're saying that dam is built. Okay, 80 farmers are going to be benefited from it, but 20 tribals are displaced. So do you think it is right now? 20 tribals, no, let them go away somewhere. But 80 farmers are benefited. Do you agree now? Dam is justified? No. Okay. Why? 80 farmers are benefited? No. The same thing. Over here, I did not use the example. So did you get the idea what I'm trying to say? How will you make a decision? 80 farmers, they are also poor, marginalized. Let's say, now I'm adding another dimension. Poor farmers, marginalized. If a dam is not built, irrigation is not provided, they have to migrate with their family to urban area and settle in slums. Now you tell me, is the dam built is good or bad? Hello? Now you tell me, 80 farmers, not rich farmers, very poor farmers, marginalized, a drought affected area, no drinking water. This irrigation can provide 80 farmers and their family with a livelihood. Huh? And otherwise, they'll have to go to urban. They have to, they will go there, they will get exploited. Their women will have to enter into prostitution. The children will have to go into child labor. If you provide this 80 families instead of 20 families. Okay. But the solution to tribals, okay, by giving alternative solution, correct. Okay, anyways, we'll come to that. See, this is what we are trying to check. All of you are in the right path. Yes, we should find a solution, rehabilitation, compensation. But I think Kiran, you mentioned rehabilitation and compensation. But there are tribals who are very much affiliated with their land. Okay, their socio-cultural, kinship, economy, everything is related to the land. Okay, and if you displace them, they will lose their culture, they will lose their livelihood, they will be thrown out of. So just to satisfy 80 people, 80 families, you are tribals who are happy living on their own without troubling anybody. You are taking away their livelihood, you are just displacing them, rehabilitating them in some construction site somewhere outside their livelihood areas, etc. Now Kiran, now you tell me. We should have solution for both. Yes, then it is good. Okay, solution for tribals as well by giving alternative solution. Yes, so that is what I'm trying to say here. If you use this principle of utilitarianism, then you can always justify it is okay. 80 families are more important as per utilitarian theory. Okay, alternative to them. That's all. So then if you follow justice principle, okay, then you will be applying some other theories. And so therefore, a little bit theoretical knowledge is necessary for you to make better decisions. It makes it much more easy for you to take a decision. Is that okay? I mean, let's come to that later on, but I hope you understood what I'm trying to say. Okay, don't worry. Even if you agree that 80 people benefited with 20 tribals are going wrong, still it is ethical depending upon what principle you are going to use. So a decision based on valid principle is correct. So therefore, you can always justify based on the principle. What principles we will discuss over a period of time. This is what is expected out of you. So not taking any decision is wrong. Okay, taking decision without any principle, that's also wrong. So take a decision, but based on ethical principle, and you can always justify. You can always justify. So in this case, you have laws you have rules and regulations, you have the constitution of our country, and you have your conscience to help you take the decisions. Is that understood? So, why do we study all this law, rules, conscience, ethics, moral principles, values? So that tomorrow, when you are faced with such kind of a situation, you will be able to take effective, efficient, and correct decisions. Tribals have soul connection. Sustainable way of living is very much necessary when it comes to the preservation in that particular area. Yes, exactly. Okay. I mean, I hope you got a picture as to what is expected from case study. So there is no correct decisions. Okay, there is no correct decision. Correct decision is only when the appropriate way to deal with this is taking decision based on a valid principles. Okay, anyway, so that's what we need to understand. That's why it's so interesting subject also. Don't let's not make it very boring by just focusing on definitions and other things. By studying all these things, comparing case studies, etc., we will make it much more interesting. Now let's see what are the different types of case studies that are asked in your examination. So case studies related to personality trait. Matlab, they will put you in a situation and they will they will see how you are going to deal with that situation. Let's say you have an UPSC or KPSC interview. On the way you are going, you are already late. Okay, you just have a buffer of 5 minutes, and then there is an accident. And if you don't attend, there is nobody else. So that person will lose his or her life. What will you do? Will you sacrifice your hard work? Okay, or will you save a life? What will you do? Guys, what will you do? Will you give the interview which you have worked hard for 1 year, 2 year in KPSC, 5 years, whatever, and or will you save somebody's life? Yes, what? Just like that. I mean, we'll deal with these things later. Just to give you an idea, what will you do, guys? Think. I will arrange someone to save that life. Okay, then.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yeah. Tell me, please.
Sir, we'll admit him to the hospital and we'll ask that any receipt or any confirmation letter from any dispensary or hospital, the reason behind this, and we will submit to the authority who is responsible for
Oh,
this.
so much time you don't have, no? You only have 5 minutes. Huh?
No.
Yes. Please tell me. No problem. Huh? Correct only. I mean,
No.
you will
But
do something.
when we admit, we'll get the receipt. No, sir. We can show to them. No, sir. Authority. Obviously,
Oh,
we'll
you're
be
telling.
late.
Oh, you will show it in the KPSC and UPSC, and then you'll say I had to go there.
Yeah, no, but I'll ask for them the receipt. Why the reason for the late? For the admit, the receipt will be collected, and I will show them. They can clarify that.
Okay. Like that. Okay. Anyways, then what else? Others? Correct. I'm not saying it would be wrong. Okay, I will arrange somebody, call 108. Okay, call ambulance, manage both. Manage both how? Call ambulance from the from a nearby hospital. Will make arrangement for accident person to also communicate. Seek public to take care. Okay. Anyways, so probably we can tell what is right and what is wrong. Okay. So one is you will not do anything. So that is also wrong. Or you will say, I will sacrifice my hard work. It's anyways another 3 years I will wait and I will write. That's also wrong. So somewhere in middle, you will have to accommodate these two things, right? So that way we'll have to use various principles, as you guys have rightly mentioned. Call ambulance or go to the nearby, help, call your friend, he will come immediately, and then something like that. All that you can take, we'll come to that. Okay, so I hope you got that. Is a personality trait. What will you try to do? Okay, public, take help from public, all that is fine. That's all correct answer. Okay, so you will give multiple options that these things can be done. Based on my evaluation, I will choose this as a best option. Something like that you need to write. Next is ethical dilemma. Ethical dilemma is where two actions, okay, of equal importance, but you have to choose one. Okay, you'll have to choose one. Here, what I'm trying to say is like ethical dilemma, like say principle of justice and principle of equality. Both these are in conflict with each other. Both values are are in conflict with each other. That is ethical dilemma based question. Administrative issues like corruption, integrity, and other things. Okay, corruption in organization, culture based question, value based question, etc. So when we do case studies in detail, I will explain what these things are. So this is the different types of case study that has been asked in UPSC. Okay, KPSC, we'll see whether they will ask this time or not. But anyways, be prepared. Just one or two classes at least you should attend these case studies so that you will know in case if they ask what you were going to write. Okay, so this is the type of or whatever demand of the examination. Any doubt, guys? Okay, this is what they will ask in the examination. The type of question, what are the topics, the case studies, etc. I have explained it to you guys. It gives you a fair idea as to how your preparation should be for this particular paper. See, I would say that we can complete the class, let's say, in 15 days. If this 15 days, if you dedicate completely for ethics, in 15 days you will be fairly good in ethics. And if you tests, about 3 tests, and daily we will be writing answers every day. Okay, and this way you will be able to master this particular subject in, within by the time you write your mains examination. Is that okay? Now, so at the end of the class, this is what I expect you to, be. The position that you should be at the end of the class. You should know what is the various terms and concepts that is there in the syllabus. You should know what it is, why is it important, its application, its features, etc. All that you should be very thorough. When I tell you what is emotional intelligence, but you should tell one definition, you should know its features, why is it important, etc. If I tell you what is attitude, you should know what is attitude, why is it important, what are the features, etc. So that is one thing. At the end of the class, this is how you should be. Then how to inculcate these topics, in your answers. Okay, in your answers, even if it is not asked, how will you integrate various topics? Okay, definition or understanding of some important terms. You should have a list of about 20-30 definitions. You can understand and make your own definition, which is almost similar, but I would prefer you to be a little bit more accurate when you are defining these things. Moral thinkers from ancient, medieval, and modern. Okay, and Gandhiji, little bit in more detail, I would expect you to know. At least 1 page to 2 pages of content relating to these moral thinkers. You should be very comfortable in writing answers. You should not be worried. As soon as you see ethics paper, automatically with ease you should be able to write these answers. You should have ready-made suggestions on various problems, on integrity, on corruption, on transparency, in accountability. These topics. How do you improve accountability in administration? How do you improve transparency in administration? How do you promote integrity, probity, reduce corruption? Like this, in all these topics, you should have ready-made suggestions or solutions. A generic framework you should have, so that whatever is the question, you should be able to write this. Did you guys understand? There should be a framework. You should not think too much in the exam. It should be there. All that you have to do is write it. Okay, then certain examples you should have, okay, on various situations. Okay, that should be clear. Okay, so examples for various situations, like case studies, simple case studies, 1 or 2, like Gandhiji, what did he do during that time, what happened, some small examples. I'll try to give it as much as possible. Then case studies, okay, the approach, balanced opinion based on various principles, etc. You need to be clear of. Okay, and certain reforms given by committees like ARC. Okay, like that you have committees, reforms, etc., which has been suggested. Nolan committee, like that you have various committees and their recommendations to reform administration governance. World Bank has given recommendations, or various other, in current affairs you will come across various, like Niti Aayog has come up with its recommendation to improve this. Okay, DOPT recently, Mission Karma Yogi, it has come with trying to reform. Correct, no? You might have read about all of this, or at least heard about all of these. These things are also important, that you should have it in your tip of your okay. So these are things what at the end of the class you should have. Is that understood, guys? Okay, so from the exam point of view, this is what you are expected to know. So this is what our approach will be. Okay, me and Ponnappa sir, we will try to do this, explain these concepts, terms, features, theories, classify the theories into simple provide you framework for writing answer, general framework which can be used for all your answers, etc. Try to provide you content on all the above. Okay, so a basic around 200 pages of content will be there so that you can repeatedly revise for the next 3 months and master this particular subject. Answer writing on a daily basis, practice, approach, how you are expected to write, etc., is what we will try to do. Is that okay, guys? Okay, so this is the approach for our approach. So, and in addition to that, finally, what I expect, what we expect from you guys. So you should at least know one definition for each term. Okay, if possible, try to remember the theorist. If not, at least I would want you to have one definition, ready definition. I don't want you to think and cook up something there, because what happens is if you are not very accurate, then you will try to write something, but it will mean something else for the examiner. So either you by heart it or understand and write it, whatever it is. One definition for each term. Emotional intelligence means I want you to know what to write. When I tell you morality, you should know what to write. Okay. Next, broad framework for all context. Okay, so content, sorry, all content. Broad framework means like in ethics, you should know what all to write. In probity, you should know broad framework. Whatever question is there, you use that framework. Okay. Next, specific content for certain syllabus, okay, like code of ethics, code of conduct, like that. Practice answer writing regularly. Whatever happens, you start today, okay, from today itself. When I give you one question now, so start with that, okay, and as you progress, you will see yourself improve. Every day you write one or two questions, you yourself will see how well you improve your this one. So I think since the offline classes, what we used to do is I used to give the question and I used to ask for the question, I mean answer. So over there only we used to finish. But since this is an online, what we can do is we will have a WhatsApp group, right, for ethics. So after the end of the class, I will give you a question. You can write it, take a photo, and send it in that WhatsApp group, all of you, so that you can see others' question also, and you can do, and we can also evaluate it then and there itself. Fair enough? Is that okay, guys? Every day one question at least. Okay, in the class itself. At the end of the class, 5 minutes before, okay, you can write the question then and there itself, and then post it in the group. Is that okay, guys? Yes, very good. Okay, this is what. So you just do this for another 30, 30, whatever, 3 months, or whenever the mains exam is. Every day you write. Aram se easily you will be able to write your answers. It will flow. You don't have to think too much. Okay. Then, yeah. So you should have one written class notes. So all of you today itself write it in blank sheet of paper or in a book, notebook, unrolled notebook, whatever it is, how whatever you are comfortable. So keep the device in one corner of your table. Okay, sit with a book, pen and paper. Whatever we discuss in the class, whatever I dictate in the class, you write it down in your class notes. Is that okay, guys? Will you do this? So one material, don't write it in some diary or some loose sheets and lose it. Okay, buy one notes, one unrolled sheet of paper, or if you're writing in A4 sheets and then filing it later, that's also fine. But I want you to have one written class notes, so for easy revision later. Okay, then one standard textbook I want you to buy. Okay, so either you can buy DK Balaji's ethics books, or you can buy Karthikeyan's this one. I would recommend that, but others what I showed you earlier you can do. In case if I'm little bit fast in changing the slides, all that you can do is take a screenshot. Okay, and later you can complete the definition, etc. Is that okay, guys? Did you understand? So in case if I am fast, take a screenshot, okay, and then you can later complete. Just sit another 10 minutes after the class, and whatever missing is there, you can write, so that we can cover as quickly as possible. I'll go with an average pace. Some of you may be slow, so you can do that. Is that okay? Yeah. So this I want you to repeatedly revise for the next 3 months. Okay, I want you to repeatedly revise 3 months. You guys will become experts. Is that okay? This is what I expect from you. Any doubt? This is the general overview of what is ethics and what is expected, what is the syllabus, and what is our plan. Okay, so probably around 15 classes is enough, okay, for us to explain. In addition to that, some discussions, etc. Okay, me and Ponnappa sir, we can try to finish it off in, let's say, 2 weeks of time. Okay, together if we do, we will try. So classes will be in the morning. So we'll start early only, 8 to 10. So all those guys who are going to office also, it will be useful. So morning 8 to 10, and then 11 to 11 onwards, or 10:30 onwards. We'll let you know the time. So 10:30 onwards, you can have 2 sessions continuous. Okay, we can finish it off. Okay, as quickly as possible. So once it is complete, your entire one paper is done. So huge burden will be reduced. Okay, so this is what we will try to do. So 8 to 10 will be a regular class. In addition to that, weekly, maybe 2-3 times we can have 10 to 10:30 to 11, I mean 10:30 plus, I mean 12:30, something like that we can have. Okay, so the idea is so that we can cover, we have some test students also, so that I want them to finish off a major chunk, so that they will be having less burden. In case if you miss these classes, don't worry, you can always see the recordings and we can interact in over phone and other thing in case if you have doubts. Okay, is that okay, guys? So today we have another 45 minutes. So let's try to get ourselves familiar with some of the terms just to get warmed up. Nothing very difficult or nothing very special that we will be discussing here. I mean, we'll not discuss any particular chapter per se. We'll just familiarize ourselves with these terms that we hear in our syllabus, etc. Okay. Okay, so what is this ethics? What is ethics? Okay, what is ethics? So in case if you want, when I ask questions, you can either type, or as your friend did, you can unmute yourself and you can tell me your answer. Okay, so what do you think is ethics, guys? What do you think is what is ethics? In simple term, what do you think is ethics? Yes. Come on, guys. You can unmute yourself and then tell, and then you can mute yourself.
So a set of rules which help us to determine what is right or wrong.
What is right or wrong? Very good. Okay, so practically, okay, humans act, right? Humans act, and whether the action is correct or whether action is wrong, okay, are judged on the basis of certain principles. Yes, Apeksha has mentioned principles, moral principles, exactly. So based on certain principles, set of standards, yes, exactly, set of standards, we try to determine a human action. Okay, we determine human action. So subjecting human action from whether it is right or whether it is wrong, okay, is known as your ethics. So as a discipline, ethics is part of philosophy. So as a discipline, ethics, okay, it determines whether a human action is right or wrong based on certain principles, set of standards. Yes, moral philosophy that helps us to get utmost happiness, etc. So these are the basic principles. Yes, exactly, to judge the things and right decisions. Very good, very good. Okay, so that is what. So human actions are subjected to what do you say? Subjected to moral scrutiny of whether it is right or whether it is wrong. That is what is ethics. Practically, that is what is ethics. Ethics can also be a discipline, okay, which tries to study this, or it can also be a set of moral principles. Don't worry, these terms now it may sound all these confusing. I'll come to it. I'm just giving you an idea. See, when we take this particular subject, it's called as ethics. So basically, ethics is this. Okay, you might have seen this. Yes, the three monkeys, right? So see no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil, right? So that is what is ethics. Ethics is all about doing the right things. Okay, our human actions are supposed to be right. So that is what is ethics. So to be ethical is what? To do the right things always. To do the right thing. But what is this right thing? Who will decide what is right? So that is where it becomes very subjective. Okay. So what is right for somebody may not be right for others. What is right at one point of time may not be right today. See, for example, the practice of sati was considered to be very noble, okay, in our medieval times. But today, sati is considered to be very barbaric. It is immoral, it is unethical to practice sati. So, what is right, what is wrong, etc., is very subjective. So, we will try to understand all of this. But, anyways, so just to, if you want to define, you can write down these definitions. Later, I will again discuss when we do the chapter. So, what is ethics? As you guys said, these are nothing but moral principles. Now, I'll explain what is morality and all that in a coming lesson. So, ethics is nothing but the moral principles that governs, okay, a person's behavior or conduct of an activity. Conducting is activity, that is action. Okay, so human action, human behavior or human action, okay, is subjected to moral principle. Okay, you have to behave a particular way. Okay, what is morality? Basically, moral means that which is concerned with right and wrong behavior. Okay, so moral principles that governs a person's behavior or action is what is known as ethics. Or ethics can also be defined as a system of moral principle. Okay, or it is a branch of philosophy. That means it's a discipline, branch of philosophy that defines what are good and for the individual and the society. Some idea? Yes, I hope you got some idea. So ethics means these are a set of moral principles. Now, let me give you an idea. What are these moral principles? Honesty is a moral principle. Commitment is a moral principle. Justice is a moral principle. Okay. These are examples of moral principles. So, set of moral principles is ethics. Okay. Is ethics. Set of moral principles. I'll come to that in detail again. I'll explain. Don't worry about all of this. See, for example, what are the moral principles? Autonomy. Acknowledge that people's right to make choice for themselves based on their own value and belief. Everybody should be given the right to decide what is correct for themselves. So that is a principle. Similarly, beneficence. One ought to prevent or remove evil or harm. One ought to do and promote good. Correct? Beneficence. You should your actions should benefit yourself as well as others. So that's also a principle of ethics. Non-maleficence. That means one ought not to inflict evil or harm on others, where harm is understood as thwarting, defeating, or setting back some parties. So your action should not create or cause harm to another. Justice, treat everybody equally, fairly, etc. This is not limited to this. There are many other principles. So, list of principles, what right things you should do is ethics. Is that okay? This is an example what I have given you here. Okay, example of what I have given you here. So, what is ethics, etc. Okay, definition wise, that is what is ethics. Okay, so I'll repeat again. So ethics is nothing but a system of moral principle. It's a branch of philosophy which defines what is good for the individual and society. Okay, fine. Yeah. So now we'll try to understand these following terms. Okay, very simple one. You will understand why I'm explaining all of this. So first, human behavior, belief, values, ethics, morals, principles, virtues, code of conduct, everything we will try to understand one by one. Okay, so let's start. What do you mean by belief? So first we'll start with this. What do you mean by belief? Yes, guys, what do you mean by belief? So you believe in God. You believe in ghost. You believe that Trump is the best president of India, US, president of US, or you believe that he is the worst president of US. Believe that China invented or whatever developed COVID. Okay, you believe that all Pakistanis are bad, or you believe that some particular community is bad, right? Belief. What is belief? So what is belief? What is belief? Agreeing without any doubt. Very good. Yes. Faith. Faith becomes religion. Yes. Belief in particular religion is faith. Okay. So faith becomes very narrowed down to a particular religion. Thoughts. Okay. Anything else? Knowledge dealing with. Okay. Sorry. Anything else? Okay. So what is belief? When we think that something is true, when we think that something is true, that internal feeling, no, that you have within yourself, that yes, this is true. You believe that all bad things is happening because of Pakistan. That you believe strongly that it is true. Okay, you believe that all Chinese products are bad. Okay, it is all poor quality. You believe it. That is an internal feeling, something within. You accept something is true without any proof. Without any proof. Agreed? Do you agree with what I have said? Yes, perspective, trust. Okay. I hope you understood that. So it's an internal feeling that say something is so true that you don't need any kind of a proof. You simply believe that it is correct. You believe that your God is the only God. Okay. Whether there is proof or not, you believe so. Is that okay? So that is what is belief. Okay. I mean, we are trying to understand all of this so that we will be able to appreciate what is ethics, etc. Okay. So what is belief? So belief is an internal feeling. It's a feeling within that something is true. Belief is an internal feeling that something is true. We accept it. We don't question it. Okay. Especially when there is no proof. Without proof also you believe. Let's say, for example, belief in God. Have you seen God? You have seen, maybe you will say, no, I've not seen God, but I've seen his actions. Okay. But anyways, is there a proof? Okay, but you believe that yes, this is what is happening. Okay, so without any proof. This could be based on your knowledge, if you are an expert in something, or if you have faced some experience. You were going in the night and somebody did something like that. So that experience develops a kind of a belief towards you. You see on TV, okay, and you believe certain things, experience, influence, personality influences. A very influential person says something, you start believing it. Now, for example, Arnab Goswami in Republic TV, he will be telling something or the other, with such commitment he will be saying, that everybody tend to get influenced, okay, by looking at him. Persuasion, you would have seen ads, correct? Persuading people to use a particular product. Okay, like for example, Shah Rukh Khan comes and he says that this is the best thing to do. So you get persuaded, okay, and you start believing in that particular the culture. Okay, if you belong to a particular culture, say let's say if you are say your culture says that eating beef is wrong, it is that, or if your culture says eating pork is haram, okay, you will start believing that yes, it is so. Charismatic leader like Gandhi ji and others. Okay, so you can get influenced, okay, by all these. So your belief is based on these things. I hope all of you understood this. No doubt over here. Belief. What is belief? Okay, so something which you consider it to be true. Okay, so next word is values. Next is values. What are values? So what do you mean by value? Value means the worth of something. Worth of something. Yes, value means the worth of something. How important it is to you in your life. So you value your parents. You value your teachers. You say, let's say, Western countries, we say that they're all materialistic. What do you mean by this? Western countries are all materialistic. They value, okay, they value material gain. They value material gain. Motive behind, okay, so correct. So I hope you understood. So value is something which you consider it to be very important. Something which you consider it to be very important is values. Okay. Did you understand the importance of something to an individual or a unit? So Indians, Okay, they value their cricket very much. So that society believes that it is very important. The importance of something to an individual or a unit, like it may be a nation, it may be a state, or whatever it is, that which is desirable. That which is desirable. We have to achieve this value. So that is what is values. Values is something which is very important for us, for a unit, for anything. Okay, and which is considered to be desirable. So in Western countries, somebody who is having 10 cars is considered to be very powerful. If you go to the like say tribal, okay, they don't value material things. They value kinship, relationship, helping each other. So that is what is tribals. That is what is tribals. Okay, when compared with that of Western countries, so they value different things. Tribals value different things, and based on the value, based on your values, you judge somebody. Do you agree with this? Okay, based on your value, you judge somebody whether he is right or wrong. Whether he is right or wrong is judged by these values. Judged by these values. Okay, so for example, if you are materialistic in life, if you are materialistic in life, so somebody who is having 10 cars, okay, 10 cars will be considered to be very important for you. Okay, whereas somebody who is poor will say what is he's not achieved anything in life. Okay, so in that movie which is that Amitabh Bachchan's movie, Mera Paas Maa Hai Na, that movie, Mera Paas Car Hai, Bungalow Hai, Tumhara Paas Kya Hai, so something like that. Okay, so one person values these materialistic gain, the other values relationship. Okay, so that is what is values. So values are standards on the basis which we evaluate something, or we make judgment about how desirable or undesirable something is to us. That is what is values. So based on the values, we guide our choice. See, why you want to get into civil services? Because you value that, okay, you recognize the value of being an officer. You feel that they can contribute a lot to the society. You feel that they can earn a lot of respect. You value those things. So therefore, you make choices based on values. You also perceive the worth of something based on values. It influences our behavior towards anything. Okay, we like it or dislike. See, an IAS officer comes into your house, your behavior will be very different from somebody else, some other person whom you consider not to be very important, right? So it influences your behavior of all those with whom we interact. Is that understood, guys? I hope you understood what are values. Okay, what are values? Okay, something which is what is worthwhile, okay, is known as values. Is that okay, guys? Are values always correct? Are values always correct? Are values always correct? Or are they always ethical? No, exactly. Okay, values are something which you may consider it to be desirable, but that does not make it always ethical. But you judged somebody's importance based on value. So try to understand all these things. Later we'll discuss it in detail, but today I want you to just get familiarized with these concepts of values, etc. Is that okay, guys? So this is values. Okay. Next is attitude. Next is attitude. What is attitude? What is attitude? Hmm? So let's say a vegetarian, okay, when he sees, non-veg food, okay, when a vegetarian sees a non-veg food, what will the response be? What will be the response be? Yes, negative, correct? Dislike. Okay, let's say a chicken biryani is there, okay, and you give it in front of a vegetarian. the thing will be dislike, negative. Same thing, you give it in front of a non-vegetarian, a hardcore non-vegetarian, he will be elated, he will be excited. Okay, his reaction will be positive. His reaction will be positive. Correct? Okay, his reactions will be positive. So this is again based on your values. So did you understand why I discussed values in the beginning? And how does value is shaped? Based on belief. So your belief that something is correct or something is wrong shapes your values. And this value is expressed in the form of attitude. Did you guys get it? Get what I'm trying to say? So your belief, okay, it shapes your value. What is important in life? And your value will in turn shape your attitude towards a object. Did you understand? So belief shapes your values, value shapes your attitude towards a particular object. Is that okay? So now what is attitude? Correct. What you is a response, something which makes us feel. Correct. So feeling, right? Agyaram has told feeling. So it is basically a psychological tendency. It is a feeling. It is internal. It's psychology. Okay, it's what our brain tells us. So a psychological tendency. Okay, that we express. Okay, so Kiran has said response. Correct. Response. Psychological. That is in our brain. What we feel. Okay. So psychological tendency that is expressed by evaluating a particular entity. How do we evaluate something? Based on our value. So based on our value, we evaluate something, and this is expressed what is known as attitude. Okay, it can be either favorable or disfavorable. Correct? Either favorable or disfavorable. Disfavor. Okay, we don't like it, or we may like it. Positive attitude, negative attitude. Agreed, all of you? Yes. So response to our environment in a degree of positiveness or negative, unfavorable, is known as attitude. And this attitude is expressed in our behavior, that is action. Agreed? So you don't like something, what do? You run away from it. You don't like non-veg, okay, or you hate non-veg. As soon as the biryani is there, you will run away from it or you will throw it off. So that shapes your behavior. Is that okay? That shapes your behavior. I hope all of you got this. Attitude, okay, attitude is psychological tendency towards something. This shapes our behavior. So what is behavior then? Behavior is action. Okay, behavior is action. That which shapes our behavior is attitude. So let's try to understand the human behavior. What is human behavior? Our response. The way we act is known as behavior. Response to a stimuli, okay, exhibited by human is known as behavior. Okay, the way we act. So why is, again, it is influenced by culture, attitude, mainly attitude, then emotions, the values that we have, ethics, authority, persuasion, coercion, genetics, etc. All this influence. See, for example, genetics. Okay, so if you are athletic, if you are, you have certain genetic predisposition, you behave in a particular way. Emotion. Okay, so you have a strong emotion about something, you behave in a particular way. Example, mother their children. Okay, it's very different from somebody else, right? So mothers towards their children or for their children is based on emotions, attitude, what I just explained, values, culture, okay, ethics, your understanding of ethics, authority, whether you can do it or not. So you might hate somebody, but you don't have the authority to remove that person from the job. But still, you can also, you will have to, you don't have any powers over him, so you can't do anything. But if you have the authority, the power, you can do something. So, what is human behavior? The response to stimuli. The way we act is known as human behavior. Okay, so this is greatly shaped by attitude. Okay, see, for example, you you hate your boss. Let's say you hate your boss. You don't like his behavior. You hate him because that your boss is corrupt, and your values say that corruption is bad. You believe that corruption is bad. Okay, so the boss is corrupt. So your attitude towards the boss is negative. Okay, what is the attitude? You hate your boss. So what is the action that you need to do, or what is the human behavior? Because you hate your boss, you either will slap him or you will leave the job and go. You can't take it anymore. I will quit my job. So this is what quitting your job is, the human behavior. Hatred towards the boss is attitude. Corruption and your belief that corruption is bad is your values. I hope you understood. So this is the sequence of event, okay, of what are these things. Okay. So this shaped greatly by attitude. It can either be expressed in a degree of favoritism or disfavor. You evaluate everything either positively or negatively. As soon as you see your friend, okay, after say 10 years, 20 years, so your behavior will be of positive. Behavior will be positive. You go and hug and smile and enjoy the company. Okay, that is the positive human behavior. Is that okay? It is shaped mainly by your attitude. So this diagram will give you a picture. This diagram will give you an idea as to what I was talking about. Okay, so you have values and belief. So I just mentioned belief before. So beliefs shapes our values. Values shape our attitude. Our attitudes are expressed in the form of behavior. And obviously there are various contextual constraints like authority, the culture, etc. Your ability to do it and all that. That is a contextual constraint. Okay, you would want to slap your boss and quit your job, but you need job security, you need salary, you don't have any other opportunity. So what will you do? You will simply keep quiet. You will have a negative attitude towards your boss, but it will not be reflected in the behavior. So contextual constraints will lead to also needs to be taken into consideration. I hope you all understood. So belief shapes your value shapes your belief. This in turn shapes your attitude. This in turn shapes your behavior. Okay. I hope all of you understood this. All right. Any doubts? Now, coming back to ethics. Why this entire story I discussed is because ethics is nothing but moral scrutiny. Behavior is nothing but action. Okay. Moral scrutiny of human actions. This is what is ethics. So in ethics, we will be studying about human behavior or human action and decide whether it is correct or wrong. That is what is ethics. Any doubt, guys? Okay, this is why I discussed all these things. What is belief? What is values? What is attitude? What is behavior? So ultimately, we are coming to this behavior. So every human action can be subjected to moral scrutiny. Okay, every human action is subjected to moral scrutiny, whether it is right or wrong. So if your boss is unethical person and you quit your job, or you slap your boss, or you don't like the boss, you are justified because the boss is corrupt and your value says that corruption should not is wrong. I mean, something like that, something like that. That's why you need to appreciate the sequence of event. So values. Okay. Agyaram, you have said values. See, what is value? See, when you go to a shop, right, you need to buy some fruits and vegetable. You say, what is the value of this? Matlab, worth of this. So if say, let's say tomato, if that person says this is 500 rupees per kg, okay, right, is it worth it? Okay, why? Because you think that it is not so valuable. Same way, everything around us, you put a value to it, or the society puts a value to it. Did you understand, Agyaram? Okay, others also. You put a value to something, your society puts a value to something. See, in your society, let's say, if you become an IAS officer, or if you become a, let's say, a blogger, okay, and you travel around, don't have a house, you live in tents, how do you compare it? Now, I mean, I'm not trying to judge anybody. I'm just saying, generally, the society, what will they value it? An IAS officer or somebody who is just roaming around without anything, staying everywhere in the tents or anywhere, whatever. Whom does the society value more? Matlab, who is considered to be more important? Who is considered to be more important?
The officer.
Yes, exactly. So that is what is value. So the worth of something is known as value, which is considered to be important is values. That is based on the belief. Why does the society thinks the officer is more important than the other person? Because the society believes that this officer can do a lot of things. Okay, who knows? In reality, it may be opposite. This person who is staying in the tent, etc., is trying to conserve the nature, preserve the nature, and promoting sustainable development, whereas this IAS officer is corrupt, who is trying to cheat poor people, taking away their money. In reality, it may be that. Okay, it may not always be true. Belief need not always be the reality, but belief is something which we think is correct. Okay, that shapes our value. I hope you are able to appreciate what I'm trying to say. So belief shapes our value. When we value something, so as soon as you see the IAS officer, your attitude towards that person will be positive. You will have respect. Whereas when you see the other person, you say, "What's wrong with you here? Why are you doing this?" That is your attitude. The behavior will be, as soon as you see an IAS officer, you will get up, you will stand up, respect, salute, or give the chair and ask them to sit. Whereas the other person, you'll be like, hey, whatever. That will be your behavior. Okay. So value is something which makes different position like education. Yeah. What you value. See, you may feel education is very important. You value education. But if you go and ask a tribal, he will say, what is the need for education? These people have to go hunting. Giving them education is not important. They don't value education. They value life skills. Did you understand, Agyana? So value can vary from individual to individual. Values can vary from society to society. So what is considered important? So what is value? Something which is considered important, based on which we make judgment. Based on which we make judgment. That is what is values. Yes, that's why it's subjective. Values change from society to society. See, for example, same-sex marriage is considered to be taboo in our society and in many societies. But it is considered to be an important aspect of justice, equality in many other societies. So that society values something else. Our society values something else. Doesn't make that either of them wrong or right. So that's why it's very subjective. We'll come to that. That's what we are trying to get into. So values and so now I hope you understood what is ethics. So every voluntary human action, it should be voluntary, okay, action is subjected to moral scrutiny. Okay, whether it is right or wrong. This moral scrutiny is ethics. This is one way of defining ethics. So the voluntary human actions is subjected to moral scrutiny. Whether it is right or whether it is wrong is what is known as ethics. Is what is known as ethics. Okay. Similarly, another definition of ethics is it's a systematic study of human action from the point of view of whether it is right or wrong. This is what the theorists do. The theorists, they study human action and determine whether it is right or wrong. Whether it is right or wrong. Another definition, the study of what we understand to be good and right behavior and how people make those judgments. When one acts in a way that is consistent with our moral values, we'll characterize that as an acting ethically. When one's actions are not incongruent with our moral values, we consider it to be bad. Okay, our sense of right, just, and good, we view that action as unethical. So if it is based on moral values, it is ethical. If it is not based on moral values, it is called as unethical. Anyways, just take a screenshot. Later you can write down. So tomorrow when we start our first chapter, all these things will be much more clearer. Similarly, you can also say another definition. Ethics are external standards that is provided by institution, group or culture to which an individual belongs. We recognize them because the society says that it is right. Say for example, doctors ethics, right? So doctors ethics is provided by the institution. Doctors come together and say this is ethical. Similarly, civil services ethics. So there is a list of principles saying that this is what you have to do. Ethics also is an external standard that provided by an institution or by a group or by a culture to which an individual belongs. We recognize them because the society says it is the right thing to do. So this is what is ethics, a different way of defining it. Okay, is that understood, guys? Okay, so human actions are subjected to moral scrutiny. That is ethics. It is also a systematic study as a discipline of philosophy as to whether it is right or wrong. It is a study and understanding the behavior of people and making judgment. That is also ethics. Ethics can also be an external standard or principle that is provided by an institution, group, or culture, which says that this is, if you follow this, you are doing the right things. Okay, so that is what is ethics. That is what is ethics. Okay, so next is morality or moral. What do you mean by moral? I mean, sometimes both these words, ethics and moral, can be used synonymously, but there's a little bit difference about it. Okay. Ethics also deals with doing the right things and avoiding the wrong things. Morals also are doing the right things. Let's try to define what is morality. So you are trying to differentiate, okay, your intentions, decisions, and actions from those which are good and those which are bad. So morality is differentiating good versus bad. That is morality. And doing the good things is moral. What is moral? Being good always is known as moral. The ability to differentiate between good and bad is morality. So moral defines how things should work. That means what is the right action according to individuals' ideals and principles. According to individuals' ideals and principles. I mean, when we see this definition, both ethics and morals seems almost the same. It is almost the same. But the difference is ethics is external, whereas moral is internal. They are individual. They are individual. Whereas ethics is group or the society which prescribes ethics. Now let me try to give you an example. Okay, so there is a murderer or a rapist, okay, and there is a lawyer. Okay, let's say the lawyer is now asked by the government to represent the murderer and the rapist. Okay, I'll repeat. The lawyer, okay, is expected to, or is asked by the government to represent this murderer or rapist. So his ethics, his code of conduct, lawyer's code of conduct says that everybody deserves, okay, to be represented. Okay, everybody is expected to get a defense. That is what the code of conduct of lawyers say. Do you agree with this? So his ethics say that he should represent this rapist. He should represent the murderer. Everybody deserves to be represented. Everybody deserves to defense. So ethics says that he should do it. Whereas his morality says that no, rapist should not be given a chance. Rapist should not be defended. His morals will say that he should not, whereas his ethics will say he should. Did you understand? Okay, I mean, to be more clear, let's say a doctor. Okay, so this rapist, okay, he's suffering from certain disease. Now a prison doctor is asked to treat this person. So his doctor's ethics say, irrespective of what that person is, if he's a patient, should be treated, okay, properly. Whereas his morals will say, oh, that fellow is rapist, we should not treat him. So did you understand? Ethics versus moral. Both are to do with the right things. But ethics are external, whereas morality is internal. I hope all of you understood, guys. Okay. Ethics and morality, how it is different. Both are to do with differentiating what is right and what is wrong. Ethics means to do the right things and avoid the wrong things. Morality or morals also is to do the right things and avoid the wrong things. The difference, major difference is ethics source is external, whereas morality source is internal. Okay, the source is individual or internal. Ethics can vary from situation. Circumstantially, it can vary from one situation to another, whereas morals will always remain the same. So morals also can be influenced by culture, society, but they are very personal, okay, by the individual, created by the individual. This is what is the difference between, one of the difference between moral. Yeah, so if you talk, Pramod, if you talk about professional ethics, yes, it is professional. Okay, but ethics can be even for day-to-day life. See, for example, okay, in a society, let's say, okay, same-sex marriage. The society will say it is wrong. The society will say it is wrong. But you, okay, you are more liberal because you have read a lot, you have studied about other countries where it is more liberal, etc. Okay, so over there, okay, you have seen that there is, same-sex marriage is considered to be okay. So your moral in this case is what? Saying that same-sex marriage is okay. But your ethics, which is provided by society, is saying that same-sex marriage is wrong. I hope you understood, Pramod. So it is not always professional. Mainly, ethics is something which is external. The source is external, whereas morality is something which is internal. Okay, Pramod, right? So this is some terms that we probably discussed, today. So tomorrow probably we can take up other terms. Okay, revise whatever we have discussed. Okay, and then take up some questions from tomorrow itself. Okay, so just to recap what all we have discussed today, some terms. Okay, like what is belief? Okay, what is value? So beliefs shapes our value. Value in turn shapes our attitude. Attitude is expressed in the form of human behavior. Now, this human behavior is subjected to moral scrutiny. What is moral scrutiny? What is right and what is wrong? Okay, so that moral scrutiny is known as ethics. So if we have to conclude today's class, okay, what is belief? So belief shapes our value. Value is shapes our attitude. Attitude is expressed in the form of behavior, that is action. These actions are subjected to moral scrutiny, that is whether they are right or wrong. This moral scrutiny is known as ethics. Okay, so today's class, if you have to conclude, so what did you understand by ethics? So ethics is nothing but a discipline or a set of standards that helps us to decide what is right and what is wrong. Okay, guys, so did you understand this? Yes? No? Okay,
Yes, sir.
fine. Great. Okay. So this is what is known as ethics in very simple terms. We'll try to gradually build over this. Okay. Slowly we will try to give more technical definitions and theorists, etc. We'll develop those things. For now, today, I hope you have understood belief, value, attitude, behavior, and moral. So ethics is nothing but the system through which we try to decide whether something is correct or wrong. Okay, guys, so this is how we will try to do it. So I hope you have written down some of them, some of these definitions. Okay, later on, as we progress, you can write down more such definitions. Okay, this is what we will try to do in the class. Is that okay, guys? Fine. So if there's no doubt, I will end today's class. Okay, so tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, the class will start. Okay. So tomorrow we will discuss some more terms, and then we will start with our first chapter, ethics and human interface. All right. If there's no doubt, I will end today's class.